My maid of honor cried at my bachelorette party. Not happy tears, not drunk tears. Guilty tears that I didn't understand until much later. The moment happened in the bathroom of some overpriced rooftop bar in Nashville. We'd been drinking champagne, screaming along to terrible music, celebrating my upcoming wedding. Then Sophie pulled me aside, mascara running down her cheeks, and said through sobs, "You deserve so much better than this, Em. I wish things were different." I thought she was being dramatic, emotional. That's just Sophie, I told myself. But when she hugged me, her hands were shaking, and she smelled like Ethan's cologne. I noticed it, that specific cedar and bergamot scent I'd bought him for Christmas. But I pushed the thought away. Sophie wouldn't. Ethan wouldn't. I went back to dancing. 2 weeks later, everything I thought I knew collapsed in the span of 30 seconds. My name is Emma Hartley, 29 years old, an event planner who's built a career on making other people's dreams come true, while apparently missing the nightmare in my own life. I have auburn hair I usually keep in a neat bun, green eyes that used to look for the best in people, and a smile I've been told is warm and genuine. That smile died the day I found the receipt. Ethan and I had been together for 4 years. He proposed on a beach in Malibu with a ring his mother helped him pick out. Everyone said we were perfect together, the kind of couple that made other people believe in love. Sophie had been my best friend since college, my roommate, my person, the one I called when things went wrong, when I needed advice, when I just wanted to laugh about nothing. She was supposed to stand next to me at my wedding in 3 weeks. But that Tuesday afternoon, while looking for our honeymoon confirmation on Ethan's laptop, I found a file labeled Work Expenses March. Inside was a hotel receipt. The Grand Luminous, Nashville. 1 king suite, 2 guests registered. The names took 3 full seconds to process. Ethan Cross and Sophie Mitchell. Check-in, March 17th. The same weekend he told me he had a conference. The same weekend Sophie said she was visiting her sister. I stared at the screen until the words stopped making sense as individual letters and became just one repeating truth. They've been lying to me. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. Something inside me just went quiet. The kind of quiet that comes right before a storm breaks everything in its path. I closed the laptop. Sat there for maybe an hour, and then I started planning. Not the wedding, the exposure. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Sophie's face at the bachelorette party, those tears, her shaking hands. You deserve so much better than this. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying because of what she'd done. At 2 a.m., I got out of bed, went to the living room, and opened Ethan's laptop again. If there was one receipt, there would be more. I created a new folder on my desktop, labeled it Evidence. Then I started searching, credit card statements first. March wasn't the only charge. There was January, the Riverside Inn, Charleston. December, Hotel Azure, Savannah. November, the Grayson, Atlanta. Every single one showed up as business expenses that Ethan had filed for reimbursement. My hands started shaking around the 8th hotel. By the 15th, I had to stop and breathe. 17 total, 17 hotels over 7 months, 17 weekends where he told me he was traveling for work, and she told me she was busy with family or friends or literally anything that wasn't the truth. I sat back, staring at my screen, and felt something harden inside my chest, like ice forming over deep water. The next morning, I went to breakfast with Sophie. She ordered avocado toast and smiled at me like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't spent the last 7 months destroying my life while pretending to be my best friend. 3 weeks, she squealed, reaching across the table to grab my hand. Are you nervous? I smiled back. More excited than nervous. Everything's finally coming together. She nodded, her eyes darting away for just a second. Ethan's a lucky guy. He really is, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. I watched her face for cracks. She was good at hiding them, but not perfect. Her left hand kept fidgeting with her napkin, folding and unfolding the corner. By the way, I said casually, how was your sister's place last month? In March? You said you were visiting her that weekend. Sophie's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Oh, yeah, it was fine. You know, just catching up. That's nice, I said, still smiling. Which sister again? Madison or Taylor? A flash of panic crossed her face. Madison, she said quickly. Right, I said. Madison, in Nashville. Atlanta, she corrected, then caught herself. I mean, yeah, she's in Nashville now, just moved. The lie was so clumsy, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Well, I'm glad you got some sister time, I said. She nodded, swallowing hard. The rest of breakfast passed in strained small talk. When we hugged goodbye, she held on a little too long. I love you, Em, she whispered. I love you too, I said, and I meant it. I loved the version of her I thought existed. The real one? She was about to learn what happens when you betray someone who plans events for a living. That afternoon, I went back to Ethan's laptop. This time, I wasn't looking for receipts. I was looking for messages. Buried in his cloud backup, the one he thought had been deleted, I found text threads. Hundreds of them. Sophie. Can't stop thinking about last night. Ethan. Same. When can I see you again, Sophie? This is so wrong, but I can't stay away from you. Ethan. We'll figure it out. I promise. Sophie. What about Emma, Ethan? 3 more weeks. After the wedding, we'll figure it out. After the wedding. They were going to let me marry him. Let me walk down the aisle, say vows, sign papers. And then what? Continue the affair? Leave me once they got bored? There was even a message from 2 weeks ago, right after the bachelorette party. Sophie, I can't keep doing this. She looked so happy tonight. It's killing me. Ethan. Just hold on a little longer. It'll all be over soon. Over. Like I was a problem to be solved. An inconvenience standing between them and whatever future they'd imagined. I saved every screenshot, downloaded every backup, organized them by date. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I kept planning my wedding, confirmed the venue, finalized the seating chart, approved the floral arrangements. Because here's what Ethan and Sophie didn't understand. I didn't just plan other people's events. I perfected them. And this wedding? This was going to be perfect. Just not in the way they expected. 3 days before the wedding, Ethan came home with takeout and that guilty puppy look he'd been wearing a lot lately. Hey babe, he said, kissing my forehead. How was your day? Exhausting, I said, which wasn't a lie. But everything's ready, rehearsal dinner tomorrow, ceremony on Saturday. He nodded, setting the food on the counter. I know you've been stressed. I just want you to know. I love you. This wedding, us, it's everything I've ever wanted. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who'd proposed to me, the man who'd met my parents and charmed them, the man who'd slept with my best friend in 17 different hotels while planning our future. I love you too, I said. And the version of him I thought I knew? Maybe I did love that person, but he was about to learn what happens when you underestimate someone with a projector, a microphone, and nothing left to lose. The rehearsal dinner was flawless. Soft lighting, elegant table settings, speeches from both families about love and commitment and forever. Sophie sat next to me, laughing at all the right moments, dabbing at her eyes during Ethan's father's toast. Ethan held my hand under the table, squeezed it gently, whispered, "Tomorrow's the big day." Tomorrow, I repeated. What neither of them knew was that I'd spent the afternoon at the venue with Marcus, our AV technician. You're sure about this? He'd asked. Looking at the flash drive I handed him. Positive, I said. Cue it up right after the first dance. Full volume, full screen. He nodded slowly. This is going to destroy them. I know, I said. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. Cloudless sky, golden light, soft breeze through the garden venue. I got ready with my bridesmaids, Sophie included, in the bridal suite, drinking mimosas and pretending everything was normal. Sophie helped me into my dress, her hands trembling as she fastened the buttons. You look beautiful, she whispered. Thank you, I said, meeting her eyes in the mirror. For everything. She looked away, blinking back tears. I wondered if she'd cry at the reception too. The ceremony was everything I'd planned. White chairs arranged in neat rows, rose petals scattered down the aisle. String quartet playing softly. I walked down that aisle on my father's arm, smiling at the 200 guests who'd come to celebrate. Ethan stood at the altar in his navy suit, eyes glistening, looking like the picture of a man in love. We said our vows, we exchanged rings. The officiant pronounced us husband and wife. Ethan kissed me, and the crowd erupted in applause. For exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds, we were married. Happy, perfect. Then came the reception. The ballroom glowed with candlelight and flowers. Guests filled their plates, clinked glasses, laughed at tables decorated exactly how I'd designed them. Sophie sat at the head table, radiant in her sage green bridesmaid dress, smiling for every photo. Ethan and I had our first dance to The Way You Look Tonight. He held me close, whispered, "I can't believe you're finally my wife." "Believe it," I said. The song ended. We separated, and I walked to the microphone. "Hi, everyone," I said, my voice steady, amplified across the room. "Thank you all so much for being here. Ethan and I are so grateful to share this day with the people we love most." Ethan smiled from his seat, raising his champagne glass. Sophie lifted hers too, her expression perfectly composed. "Before we continue," I said, "I wanted to share something special. A little montage I put together, just some memories." I nodded to Marcus. The lights dimmed. The projector screen behind me flickered to life, but it wasn't a montage of our relationship. It was a slideshow. The first image, a hotel receipt, the Grand Luminous, Nashville, 1 king suite, 2 guests registered, Ethan Cross and Sophie Mitchell, March 17th. The room went silent, then the gasps started. Ethan's champagne glass hit the table, Sophie's face drained of color. I clicked to the next slide, a screenshot of a text message. "Sophie, I can't keep doing this. She looked so happy tonight. Ethan, 3 more weeks, after the wedding, we'll figure it out." Someone's chair scraped loudly against the floor. A woman gasped. Phone started lifting. I clicked again. Another hotel receipt. Different city, same 2 names. Then another, and another. 17 hotels over 7 months, displayed one after another on a screen the size of a wall. Each click was like a detonation. By the 5th slide, Sophie was standing, hands over her mouth. By the 10th, Ethan's mother had walked out, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. By the 15th, half the room was either recording or whispering in shock. I let the final slide linger. It was a photo I'd found buried in Ethan's deleted files. Them, together, in bed, her head on his chest, his arm around her, both of them smiling. The timestamp read, 2 weeks ago, the night after my bachelorette party. The night she cried guilty tears in that bathroom. I turned off the projector and turned back to the microphone. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. "I found out about this 2 weeks ago," I said, my voice calm, measured, final. But I decided to go through with the wedding anyway, not because I wanted to marry Ethan, but because I wanted everyone here, our families, our friends, the 200 people who traveled to celebrate our love, to see exactly who you both are. Sophie sank into her chair, sobbing into her hands. Ethan finally found his voice. "Emma, please, let me explain." "Explain?" I said. 17 hotels in 7 months. That's not love. That's not even lust. That's logistics. The room erupted in whispers. Someone laughed, sharp, shocked. Ethan stood, his face red. "I made a mistake." "You didn't make a mistake, Ethan," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. "You auditioned your replacement, and Sophie," I looked at her directly, "you didn't just betray me, you starred in it." She looked up, mascara streaking her face, mouth opening to say something. I didn't let her. "For those of you wondering," I continued, "I've already filed for annulment. We were married for exactly 4 minutes. That's about how long this relationship should have lasted in the first place." I set down the microphone, picked up my bouquet, and walked out of my own wedding reception while 200 people watched in stunned, breathless silence. Behind me, chaos erupted. shouting, crying, the crash of a chair hitting the floor. But I didn't look back. I got into the car I'd prearranged, still in my wedding dress, and drove away while my phone exploded with messages I didn't read. The next morning, I woke up in a hotel room I'd booked for myself. Not a honeymoon suite. Just a quiet room with blackout curtains and silence. My phone had 143 missed calls. I turned it off. 2 days later, reality set in. Sophie's mother called my mother to apologize, crying so hard she could barely speak. My mom told me later that Mrs. Mitchell kept saying I didn't raise her to be this person. Ethan moved back in with his parents. His father, who'd given that beautiful toast about integrity at the rehearsal dinner, reportedly hasn't spoken to him since. The wedding video went viral, not the official one, the guest recordings. At least 40 people had filmed my slideshow and posted it. Within 3 days, it had been shared across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter with captions like, "This is the level of savage I aspire to," and "She destroyed them." Friends I hadn't spoken to in years were messaging me. Strangers were commenting on posts. I always knew something was off about Sophie. Ethan tried calling. 17 times the first day. I blocked him on the 18th. Sophie sent an email. Subject line, "I'm so sorry. Please let me explain." I hovered over it for maybe 10 seconds. Then I deleted it without opening it. Last month, Sophie showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole, standing there with flowers and tears already streaming down her face. She knocked 3 times. "Emma, please. I know you're in there. I know I don't deserve it, but can we just talk? I need you to understand." I stood on the other side of that door for a full minute, listening to her cry, listening to her beg. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just the quiet certainty that some doors, once closed, should stay that way. I waited until her footsteps faded down the hallway. Then I threw the flowers in the trash without reading the card. Not out of anger, out of something quieter, self-preservation. The girl who trusted too easily died at the altar. I walked out. And the 2 people who thought they could betray me quietly, privately, without consequences. They got their confession. Just not the tearful, private kind they were hoping for. They got it on a projector screen the size of a wall, in front of 200 witnesses, with receipts and timestamps, and their own words echoing back at them. Some weddings end with cake and dancing. Mine ended with the truth. And honestly, forgiveness isn't hard for me. Access is.